First of all, I want to call your attention to this beautiful singing bowl. This is a gift of Isaiah Thompson, sorry. Yes, because Thompson Stein. Okay, Thompson Stein. Is that correct? A gift of Mr. Let me start over again. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. First, I want to call your attention to this lovely new singing bowl that is a gift of Mr. and Mrs. Thompson Stein. Okay. But without you, there is no Isaiah Joan. So, so let's move on, shall we? A little bit of backstory. Joan and I have been talking about enhancing the bowl apparatus we have here, and Isaiah has lent this to us for our use in worship, and I'm very grateful to him, and it produces a beautiful sound. So thank you, Isaiah and Joan. Welcome to First Parish Church here in Kingston. I'm Reverend Emily Bruce. I'm the minister of this congregation. Thank you for being here on this very rainy day. Whether you're here in the meeting house or joining us up on Zoom, you're welcome here. We are glad to have you, and we are happy to worship with you all in this space this morning. I'm going to make a few quick announcements before we start our worship. First of all, thank you to everyone who helped out. And by helped out, I mean planned, organized, ate lasagna, and did everything to pull off the success of the lasagna dinner last night. So thank you all for coming. Yes. And most especially, I want to offer thanks to Diane Richard, is Diane here? Of course she's not. She's exhausted. Diane, and also Christina Randall for a lot of the organizing, especially with the silent auction. So thank you, thank you, thank you. It was a wonderful event, and I hope you all left full and happy, because I did. Today, after coffee hour, you should have gotten an email. We're going to have a congregational conversation about our budget for next year. It's going to be a listening circle, really. The board wants to hear from all of you, your thoughts and your feedback and your ideas about ways to close our deficit for next year, which is largely caused by the loss of our Sprint contract. Yes, so we're going to talk about the specifics a little bit so you understand the math we're working with. And then the governing board wants to hear from all of you and then take those thoughts and ideas back as they plan our budget for next year. So this will be at the tail end of coffee hour in Sampson Hall. So if you can stay, I hope you will. Also, in the newsletter this week, you may have noticed we are starting another smaller collection of clothing for the homeless and displaced folks living at the Baymont. This is just for us. This is not a community-wide collection. We are not going to have a replay of what happened in the fall. As proud as we all are of that work we did, we can't do that again. So this is just for us, so please do not share this out on social media or anywhere else. But the folks living at the Baymont, thanks to us and all the people who donated clothes, have winter clothes, but they don't have spring and summer clothes. So we're collecting spring and summer clothes for all ages and all genders. No shoes, though, just clothing. And there's instructions in the email, but also talk to Donna Eldridge right there. If you have questions, Donna, as always, our magnificent organizer, is running this for us. But put everything in a bag, label what's in the bag, and put it by the fireplace in Beale House, and please talk to Donna if you have more questions. And that's it for now. So I invite you all to get comfortable in your seats. Yeah, I already hear those exhales happening. Unclench, loosen your arms, loosen your neck, loosen your jaw, and join me in taking a deep breath in and out. Let go of your phone, your to-do list, your email, whatever's weighing on your heart this morning. Try to just put it down for a little while. It will be there when the service is over. Take another deep breath in and out. And give yourself the gift of worshiping in this space with us this morning. Our chalice lighting this morning is by Kate McPhee. Around us, light is returning. It rekindles the spirit of life in the skeletons of trees. It brings forth new shoots from the soil. It wakes us from our winter slumber and invites us to see what lies beyond. We light this chalice in the spirit of our Earth's awakening and reaffirm our commitment to the value of our home. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit for our opening hymn, number 21, For the Beauty of the Earth. And will you now join me in prayer? Spirit of life, God of love, great mystery of this universe, help us hold the essentials before us as guides and blessings as we let go of what does not serve the flourishing of this, our beloved community. Today and in the days ahead, help us ground ourselves in what is true and life-giving. In the wide embrace of the love that is larger than any one of us, we hold all those in need of healing in body or in spirit. We give our thanks for this earth, which never abandons us, returning with new life in the spring to draw us out of our winters of isolation and despair. We give our attention and thanks and celebration for the joys of our life that call us to make more joyful lives for others. And we lift up those places of injustice and brokenness in our world. We ask with humility for the continued courage, creativity, and compassion to create a world where all people have access to the gifts of life, the gifts of this beautiful planet Earth. In the name of the love that surpasses all understanding, we pray this morning. Amen. Let us now be still for a few moments together. When we give, we say yes to something we value. We are going to do that in a second after we sing, thank you, Bob, side 2 of May Love Be Your Guide. Thank you. May you walk with head held high. May your heart praise earth and sky. May you see life's gift to you. May love be your guide, your guide. Amen. May love be your guide. When we give, we say yes to something we value. In this congregation, we take up an offering each week to say yes to the values of our UU faith and yes to this beloved community. Today, we are blessed with the presence of Claire-Karl Müller as our guest preacher, and to offer our thanks for their presence here today, we are giving our entire offering to UU Mass Action. Founded in 2005, UU Mass Action is the Massachusetts State Action Network, organizing and mobilizing 20,000 Unitarian Universalists. That's a lot of UUs. And 142 UU congregations to confront oppression and create equity here in our home state of Massachusetts. As UUs, we are called to put our values and our principles into action. Together, we create a just world by confronting systems of oppression. UU Mass Action's role is to organize us to work collectively so that together we can create the change we seek. Their core campaigns include environmental and climate justice, decarceration and ending solitary, economic and housing justice, immigration justice, and Indigenous justice. That is quite a portfolio. So please give as you are able. Our offering will be gratefully received, and our offering anthem this morning is To Spring by Johann Sebastian Bach.
And then we are
We are, yes. Thank you, Lil. Yes. I'm like a broken record. I say that every week, so I'm really glad that you said it too. No, thank you, choir, as always. Lovely. And thank you, Lil, for speaking up. Have we embarrassed you enough? Yes. All right. Our reading this morning is entitled Good Bones, and it is by Maggie Smith. Life is short, though I keep this from my children. Life is short, and I've shortened mine in 1,000 delicious, ill-advised ways. 1,000 deliciously ill-advised ways I'll keep from my children. The world is at least 50% terrible, and that's a conservative estimate, though I keep this from my children. For every bird, there is a stone thrown at a bird. For every loved child, a child broken, bagged, and sunk in a lake. Life is short, and the world is at least half terrible. And for every kind stranger, there is one who would break you, though I keep this from my children. I am trying to sell them the world. Any decent realtor walking you through a real hole chirps on about good bones, good bones. This place could be beautiful, right? You could make this place beautiful.
Good morning. Thank you so much for the invitation to be here. I'm really honored. Some of you may know that I grew up next door in Duxbury, and so it feels very homecoming to be so close to be with you all. My name is Claire-Karl. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm the Movement Building Director at UU Mass Action, your state action network. I want to speak today about climate grief, choosing to love hard and creating possibility even in the midst of a 50% terrible world. It's not easy, but I know that I can manage it better when we do it together. Before that, I want to tell you a little bit about my journey. My ancestors have been in eastern Massachusetts between 150 to 400 years, 5th or 15th generation for me. And I'm a spiritual person, an emotional person. I've always talked to trees. And when I became old enough to ask questions like, who are we? What are our traditions, our heritage, our food, our songs? Are we German? I found out that all of that was more or less gone. That the generations of German, Irish, and other Europeans I'm descended from had pretty much assimilated into whiteness. And I have always felt that loss, a bit like a phantom limb, like I was supposed to have more. In my 20s, I tried to reconcile this realization that I'm a settler colonist here on Wampanoag land with a deep commitment to eastern Massachusetts. I told myself, I'm gonna burrow into this place like a badger. I'm gonna find out everything about it. The geology, memorize the names of every species of native plant and animal. I wanna know when you hear the bird call, I know what that is. I wanted to be that person. I thought, some of my ancestors came on the Mayflower, not in the best way. Okay, I own that. That's part of my history, but not as a place of shame, but as a place of motivation. Maybe I could try to commit myself to this place in such a way that I could plant a seed that would last for 400 more years of love. To the Massachusetts people, the Wampanoag people. Indigenous author Robin Wall Kimmerer, who wrote her amazing book, Braiding Sweetgrass, addresses this feeling. She says, you can't become Indigenous, but maybe you can be naturalized. Right? It's so good. And I thought, that's me. That's what I want. I want to become naturalized to this place, to belong to it deeply. And that became my life plan, in essence, my purpose. I'm going to put all of my healing of racial capitalism work here into this place, Eastern Massachusetts. On a side note, I wonder if you all have heard about butterfly transformation. When it's time to transition, it turns out that the caterpillar's old body, it literally dies inside of the chrysalis. The caterpillar is broken down, literally digested from the inside out. And those cells that kind of disintegrate into something called imaginal cells. Imaginal cells are undifferentiated. They could become any part of the new butterfly. So the caterpillar kind of dissolves into this goop of possibility. And it's in that fluid possibility that a beautiful butterfly is constructed. Out of total unknown is a gorgeous outcome. I say that as a setup, right? So I'm in my 20s. I have this clear, solid path for my life. I know what my legacy is going to be. But then I see a map from the Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management. And this map depicts the coastline of Massachusetts and what it will look like after all of the ice melts. And it breaks my heart because it's essentially all water. All of Eastern Mass will be back under the ocean, really all the way till Boston. It's the Blue Hills that, Massachusetts is named after. They become islands. And I sobbed, big sobs. You can feel it now, right? I still have big grief about this. It broke my heart wide open. Around that time, I used to look at the trees and I would apologize and say, I'm so sorry. Because, we can migrate, but it's a lot harder for a tree to take up its roots. It can only send its descendants further west. That reality of what is likely to come, it disintegrated my plan into a total goop of possibility. It was around that same time that I let go of saving the world. I had been carrying the entire planet on my shoulders, thinking that I would be able to stop climate change. But I heard this podcast while I was walking home from the subway in Boston with an author named Margaret Wheatley. She's brilliant. She was discussing her then new book called Who Do We Choose to Be? Facing Reality, Claiming Leadership, Restoring Sanity. And in this podcast, she said, it's too late. We cannot solve these global issues globally. It's up to us, not as global leaders, but as local leaders. Locally, we can lead people to create positive changes that make life easier, more sustainable, and that create possibility in the midst of this global decline. It was those words, create possibility in the midst of global decline. I felt very struck by them, almost called out, to be honest. I'm not very good at possibility. I prefer certainty. My partner has revealed this to me actually over and over. In the winter, we traveled to Colorado to visit my very best friend and her toddler, who I had missed the birth of because of the pandemic. And for work reasons, my partner and I traveled separately. We had kind of different airlines. And we have a wonderful visit. And right before we're coming back, there's a big snowstorm. And the airline industry is kind of fragile these days, and our flights were canceled. So I get the notification on my phone. Oh, the next flight's not till Monday. Guess I'm staying the weekend. That's fine. And I book my flight. I'm happy with certainty, knowing just I'll go back on Monday. But my partner, he teaches snowboarding to young people. And he has a commitment that Saturday, the next day, to teach. And he loves this. It's part of his life purpose. And so he proceeds to check every possible flight that could possibly get him back to Boston the next day. And it kind of freaks me out a little bit how much he's considering it. He looks at flying to Chicago because it's halfway back, even though there's no flights yet from Chicago to Boston. He considers flying to New York and taking a bus back to Boston, where I don't quite know how he's going to get to our car in time. And I'm just like, what are you doing? I watch and I think to myself, what faith to not really know how you're going to get back to Boston by Saturday morning, but to want it so badly that you would leap into that possibility and just hope and believe it's going to work out. The very idea of that much ambiguity, it makes my skin crawl. I want a clear path. My partner, he also wants 5 children. And when I point out to him that we are living through the collapse of racial capitalism, and maybe that seems like a bit much, I want certainty. I want to be sure that any humans I create, I can take care of. And he'll smile, and he'll just say, we'll figure it out. And I wonder if you might feel a little aghast at that statement as I do. I want to pull up a PowerPoint and chart and say, do you see the carbon emissions going up? The increase of storms, the pandemic. I want to say to him, I don't think you're afraid enough. I want to say, I am so afraid, I am terrified. But I'm learning to let go into possibility. Racial capitalism. It's a system of never-ending profit-driven growth allowed to spin desperately out of control because of oppressive ideas that some people and some land are expendable, exploitable, less than. And it's reaching the limits of our one precious planet. It could extinct us all. The problem is not only that there is too much carbon in the atmosphere, the problem is also the ideas that got us into this place, this ideology of racial capitalism. We have to heal not only the literal climate, but also our hearts and our minds. I like to imagine where we would be now if our UU principles were the dominant ideology. And many people tell me that they understand this, that climate change is just a symptom of racial capitalism, that we actually have to root out the entire system of racial capitalism. But to really face that, to really think about it, is overwhelming, that it's too much. I get that. Where will it all go? How's it going to happen? I don't know. But I do want to say that I'm hopeful. and sometimes, in fact, joyful for that transformation that we're headed towards. Where we are now is at least half terrible. And I want something really different. I cannot see the path that's going to get us there, but I have reason to believe that it's possible for us, for all humans, to become something really gorgeous. Author and activist Rebecca Solnit researched major calamities. She looked at the 1906 earthquake in San Francisco, 9/11, Hurricane Katrina, and others. What she found is that despite the widespread myth that humans are selfish and fight for themselves, is that actually, when we're in disaster, humans revert to generosity, to cooperativeness, and that often in these terrible times, what she found is there's a temporary utopia of possibilities. People become altruistic, resourceful, brave, actually even more joyful. The 1906 San Francisco earthquake is marked by celebration and joy in the streets. I propose to you that our imaginal selves as a species, our base code, is that in the goop, we are good. I believe that through the coming crucible that we have already begun of the collapse happening slowly and more, is that we will emerge as a gorgeous butterfly. Nigerian thinker Bayo Amalkamalfi, who I deeply admire, he calls this time of collapse composting times. The undoing, the decaying, the sinking into black gold. And every gardener knows the best gardens grow from fresh compost. I then call myself a political gardener. Each crisis that rolls through collapses racial capitalism a little bit more. And yes, that's painful. There's suffering. I don't want to skip over that part or be light about it. That's what happens in decay. Parts die. And I don't want to tell you that I know for sure what will grow out of the compost of these times, but I am planting seeds like crazy. I am watering and shining love onto those seeds like housing justice, like 100% renewable energy, like climate justice. Plant seeds with me, with us. I'm not saying that passing bills at the Massachusetts State House for climate and environmental justice is going to stop climate change. It's not. I am saying that it tills the soil for a gorgeous new garden. And I specifically invite you to do political work with us, not just individual change. The international consensus around climate change is that we have all of the collective policy solutions. We know what we need to do. But it's literally a lack of political will, of collective pushing to make them happen. We need more folks pushing for these policies. There's a physical chemist and Nobel laureate named Ilya Prigogine. He has this amazing quote I can never stop thinking about. He worked on complex systems, on irreversibility, the type of person I would want to know what he thought of tipping points and climate change. And he said, when a system is far from equilibrium, small islands of coherence have the capacity to shift the entire system. So let us create a small island of coherence based in love, in cooperation, and possibility together. When I imagine my future children, number to be determined, asking me, why did you have me? When you knew, you saw where we were, when they're old enough to realize the world is at least half terrible. I know that my answer will be because I leaned into joy. I leaned into believing that humans are good and that I was with so many others planting seeds of that love, of social justice and climate justice, and I believed in that possibility for goodness. Wherever you are in your journey of taking political action, please keep going. Sink your hands into the compost of these times. Join hands with each other. And I invite you to join hands with UMass Action if you'd like. I come today with interest cards you can fill out, and I'll collect at coffee hour because I believe in us. Thank you. Thank you. Letting that sink in. Please rise in body or spirit for our closing hymn. Number 1066 in the teal hymnal, O Brother Sun.
As we prepare to leave this space and go out into the world, the half-terrible world beyond, bring your hope, bring your goo and your black gold, ready to grow into something new and beautiful. And go in peace. I totally forgot.